So I was inspired by the Age of Sigmar skirmish book for this next mission. I really like this one, the way it's set up with the this firestorm, pushing players out of their deployment zone, forcing them to move into this safe zone. And I think you'll like it. I highly recommend getting the skirmish book if you can get your hands on it. It's really good. Okay, so here's a picture of the board that I set up. You'll see in the bottom left hand corner and the top right hand corner I haven't put a lot of terrain, and that's deliberate. I've kept most of my terrain in the top left corner, and then I've marked out an area with the bastion, GW bastion, and some walls, making a square. So deployment zones I've highlighted in purple and orange. So your two Inquisitor 28 warbands will be able to set up on either side of each other. I've put those two big blocking pieces of terrain in the top left hand corner to give them cover from each other initially, and if they go too far to the right or too far down on the bottom left, they're not going to find any cover at all, because really we don't want these acolytes being too far away from each other. We want them as close as they can be, and you'll see in a minute why we want them running up that middle area towards the bastion. And if you haven't guessed it already, the firestorm rules. Okay, so there is a blazing, carpet bombing, virus bombing, massive firestorm of chaos, warp storm, whatever you want to choose for how you're going to build a narrative around this game. If you're playing as the games master, give it a bit of fluff to sort of show why the acolytes are fighting over this, or why they're trying to escape this big firestorm. Maybe one of the acolytes caused it. They ordered a sort of mini exterminatus or mini firestorm. Okay, so this firestorm is pushing the group up the board into that bastion zone in the top right hand corner, and any models that are caught in the firestorm are going to suffer D3 mortal wounds, so they've got to move. They're definitely not going to survive 2 turns in the firestorm. It's highly unlikely they'll survive 1. And the firestorm's going to move. It's flying up the table towards them at the end of turn 1. It'll be 6 inches from the player's table edges. Turn 2 it'll be 12 inches from the player edges. Turn 3 it'll be 18 inches from the player edges. And on turn 4 they basically have to be in that middle zone. But there's no other safe place for them to be other than that middle zone around the bastion. So you can see that in an ideal situation they're going to go into the middle, because that's where there's the most cover, so there's more chance for melee combat as well as shooting. And even then, once they're in this safe zone, they're still going to find they've got to be ducking around for cover or attacking one another from the safe zone. And I would probably only let this scenario run 4 turns. I think that would probably be enough. Unless there's a particularly good narrative going on inside the safe zone, in which case, as a games master, keep it going for another 1 or maybe 2 turns. But keep it tight. So victory will be destroying your opponent's warband, really, stopping them getting into the cover of the safe zone, ideally pinning them so they get swept up in the firestorm and die. So some optional rules. I came up with two ideas. The first is that the bastion itself could be under siege from some chaos cultists, or whatever type of cultist you've got your hands on, or it could be Xenos. So the bastion is under siege, and the acolytes are going to be rushing through these hail of fire. So as the GM's job, you could have some guard soldiers inside the bastion shooting out at these besieging forces, and the besieging forces shooting at the bastion, probably trying to move up towards the bastion, maybe to try and plant their bombs, and they've been pinned down in some areas they're in, and probably they're going to get ganked by the firestorm that they don't see coming. Your acolytes could engage with them in combat. They could try and trick each other into engaging with the besieging forces, in this case the cultists. As a GM, try and build on some tension, or do something that seems interesting. Maybe the cultists run out when they see the acolytes and start chasing them as well. Try and slow them down so they get caught by the firestorm. So in my setup, I actually put down 3 different areas where besieging forces would be attacking or taking cover from the bastion. And I thought those 2 points and a middle point would be excellent places for the acolytes to struggle with. And you might even bring like a heavy weapon, maybe a heavy stubber or something that could pose a real genuine threat to the acolytes, and maybe they have to take that out quite quickly. Someone's got to sacrifice themselves and take that out, otherwise everyone's day is going to be a bit of an issue. And you can see their position there, so this gauntlet run from top left to bottom right is very difficult. The second optional rule I came up with is quite a popular one with gamers: explosive barrels. So in my setup, I actually created some areas specifically for explosive barrels. So I placed my explosive barrels on the map, as you can see, in locations on the far right and bottom far left of the safe zone, and that's because I wanted to discourage further from players just sneaking around those top opposite corners. I didn't want them to be too far away from each other. I wanted to push them into the middle so they were actually fighting and engaging with each other. And I thought the explosive barrels, this would be good if they try and go off the map too far to the right or to the bottom. Your opponent, a sneaky opponent, or maybe the besieging forces, might snipe out one of these explosive barrels and kill off those cowards. So if you're playing an Inquisimunda, I've given it a sort of strength 4, damage 1 profile with the blast 5-inch marker, with the blaze and knockback rule. They're probably filled with oil or something, so the acolyte or whoever will catch fire if they're caught in the blast and knocked back by the force of the blast. But if you're using sort of standard kill team or 40k rules, just give it a sort of maybe one mortal wound as it explodes. So, thanks for watching. I'd love to hear your feedback on the scenario itself, or just on this general presentation of the video. This channel is obviously very new, so any likes and subscriptions would mean quite a lot to me. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.